Well, two of the world's superpowers are also the globe's top two economies and are intrinsically intertwined. But now China and the U.S. appear closer than ever to a full economic breakup as their trade war intensifies. This month, U.S. President Donald Trump raised baseline tariffs on Chinese imports to 145%. The Chinese leader Xi Jinping has come out all guns blazing.
In China, the trade war with the US is being portrayed as a struggle against Western bullying, a test of Chinese resolve, and a battle that only the Communist Party can win. The trade war is the biggest political challenge facing China's paramount leader, Xi Jinping, since the COVID pandemic. Tactically, Xi is using the trade war as an opportunity. On this month's tour of Vietnam, Malaysia and Cambodia, Xi sold a vision of Beijing as a responsible power, willing to work with regional neighbours to offset the impact of US tariffs.
In the face of shocks to global order, we will stand against unilateralism and protectionism, and together we will safeguard the bright prospects of our Asian family.
China's economy faces strong headwinds. Industry is heavily reliant on exports to help the economy keep growing, and a trade war could lead to a crisis in manufacturing. Consumers are not spending money. China is grappling with a property crisis, soaring youth unemployment and massive government debt, all of which could lead to tensions and unrest. Short term, the threat to communist rule is not severe. Xi Jinping has already consolidated power around himself and is more powerful than any Chinese leader since founding father Mao Zedong. The party has been successful in running China, as it offers continued economic prosperity in exchange for authoritarian, non-democratic rule. But if the trade war stretches into months, sparking a much weaker economy and mass discontent, it could expose vulnerabilities in Xi Jinping's rule.
And let's dig into this with DW business reporter and China expert Clifford Coonan here with me in the studio. He's, of course, the one who filed that report we just saw. Clifford, first of all, tell me how Xi Jinping is using this trade war to strengthen his position and stay in power in China.
I think to understand that, we have to look a little bit at the Chinese Communist Party itself and the history of the Chinese Communist Party. It's a revolutionary party. China emerged in 1949 after the Civil War, where the Communist Party defeated the Nationalists. And it's all about struggle. It's all about having campaigns, and these kind of things are great for the Communist Party. They're very good at these things, and that's what this is being turned into. This trade war has become like a revolutionary event in a way that they're mobilizing the people behind it. There's a surge in nationalism. They're saying, anti-Western imperialism, anti-Western bullying. All of these kind of things are great in terms of how it works. There's lots of propaganda, and so it strengthens him in a way. But, of course, there are risks to that.
Yeah, that's really interesting how that plays in. We've, of course, in response to these tariffs, seen Xi Jinping on a so-called charm offensive, trying to shore up regional cooperation. What would greater regional integration mean for global markets?
Well, this is interesting. I mean, last week he went on a tour of Southeast Asia and he went to Vietnam, which is also a communist country, and they've got a lot in common. And then other ASEAN states who are who also have, he's trying to build a kind of an Asian front against the US. The optics of the trip were very good, but I think in terms of details, it was kind of low on details about how he's going to do that, because basically China wants to stop it has to stop exporting to the US. It needs other markets, and it's looking at ASEAN and Asia and as a possibility. But the thing is that these are already exporting nations themselves. Most of them, they're also heavily reliant on the US. So it's difficult to see how it's going to work out in terms of using the other Asian nations in the region to take these Chinese goods and to help him in its front against the US.
And how successful that is going to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think an interesting point here is also the potential of the damage that Trump's tariffs could do to China's economy. Obviously, it's a state that is very interested in keeping a lid on unrest. But if things like unemployment start to go up in China, that could be really dangerous for Xi Jinping, couldn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, this is the risk. And I think we've seen a few, China needs its exports. China exports 4 times the rate that the rest of the world does. It's a huge part of its economy because it trickles into so many other areas, particularly manufacturing, which is a big employer, as you said. So if we do see a slowdown on this, it could be very bad for China. I mean, we've seen some interesting things. China just sent back, Xiamen Airlines just sent back a Boeing 737 that they'd bought, saying they can't afford it now because of the tariffs, which is really interesting. On the one level, it looks like a win for China because it's saying, well, you're going to suffer, the US is going to suffer. But on the other hand, China needs these planes too. So there's 2 ways. It needs technology to keep the economy going. There's security issues that it needs for its defense. It needs US components, basically, to drive computers that it needs for its defense. So there's a lot of risks there, I think. And I think going forward, it's going to be a question of how they manage this, how they keep, because Chinese consumers, as I mentioned in the report, are not spending money. There's very little coming from the domestic market. So they need to find ways to outlast the tariff war and see if they can, how they go forward.
Cliff, thank you so much for joining us. That is Clifford Coonan from DW Business.